Are you like me and you like great books? Well, I found a place that has a lot of great books. A traditional publisher right up in Macon County, Deep Read Press. DeepReadPress.com, that's the website to find out exactly what they have. And again, they got traditional books. They are a traditional publisher. Deep Read Press does a lot of things that I particularly like, and most of them has to do with great books. So if you're looking for a publisher to publish, or if you're just looking for a place to find a lot of great books, it's Deep Read Press at DeepReadPress.com.
Hello, welcome to the initial broadcast of the Deep Read Press Show. My name is C.L. Gammon, and we'll be with you for the next hour. The Deep Read Press Show will cover every topic that you can think of about books, publishing, writing, editing, reading, everything you could think of. We encourage you to call in, but we remind you of this. If you are an author and you're not a Deep Read Press author, please don't call in and try to plug your book. It won't be fair to other authors. Our co-host is Connie Howe from Australia. Ms. Howe is a self-help author and poet, and I'm sure she will wind up being the star of this show. We'll bring her on right now. How you doing, Connie?
Yeah. Hi, wonderful to be with you. I don't know about being the star of the show.
Okay. You're trying to break up a little bit.
Oh.
Am I coming through good on your side?
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay. Well, we'll travel on and we'll see if we get better. We may have to.
Yeah.
We may have to ask you to drop off and try to call back in. She's calling all the way from Australia.
All right. Okay.
We live in the best of times and the worst of times. A person who sit here in rural Macon County, Tennessee, and co-host the show with somebody from Australia is a pretty good deal. Okay, so how are you tonight, Connie?
I'm great. It's summer here in the mountains, and today's a bit cooler, which is good because we've had some pretty hot weather.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect you and ask you to call back in because it's a really bad connection, okay? So I'm going to disconnect you.
Okay, I'll do that right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're sorry about that. This is a brand new show, and there's always a couple of problems with brand new shows. Our topic tonight is going to be what publishers want and what authors need. Publishers want certain things from authors, and authors need certain things from publishers. And we're going to go down that list. We may not get to everything because there are a lot of topics. Again, if you wish to call in, you can do so. Our number is 563-999-3623. And while we're waiting for Connie to call back, I think this might be a good time for you to hear a little bit about her book, Perfectly Imperfect.
Hello, everyone. My name is Connie Howell. I'm a Deep Read Press author, and I'd like to talk to you about my book, Perfectly Imperfect, How to Be Imperfect and Remain Lovable. This book has been described as part memoir, part self-help, and I believe it also can be used as a workbook, because at the end of each chapter, I have posed questions for reflection. And if you answer these questions honestly, you will find that you may have belief systems that are working against you. And when you realize what these belief systems are, you can actively change them. Then you can change your life. I was a guest on the Judith Mancini Today show, where we talked about the book for about 40 minutes. You can see this interview on YouTube. I was also a guest on the Writers' Lounge, the blog radio show. The book was then later nominated for the Writers' Lounge Bookshelf Award. I'd like to give you an example of the types of questions that I have posed for your reflection. So these are the questions after Chapter 1. Do I need to be perfect to be lovable? Where did I get the idea that in order to be loved and accepted, I have to be perfect? Is that notion true? What changes in thinking do I need to make to feel okay the way I am? What do I believe about love and self-worth? What is perfection? How do I define it? Can I allow myself to slip up and make mistakes and still feel okay about myself? Everyone makes mistakes. That's how we all learn. Through these pages, you will read my story about the hardships I've suffered in life, but also how I overcame them. I learned to forgive people and myself. You too can do this. The book is easy to read. There are no hard concepts. And sometimes you'll find that there are very raw recollections that I've shared with you. I've tried to be as honest as I can. In that way, I think it gives you permission to own and face some of your own hardships and how to overcome them. If you've ever suffered the pain of perfectionism, you will know what it's like to be something that you aren't, just to fit in, and most of all, to be loved. You'll find this book quite relatable, and you'll even say sometimes, wow, that applies to me. You can find this book on the Amazon site relevant to your country, or on the Deep Read Press website. Also, you can find it on my own website, which is www.conniehowell.com.au. I'm originally from Britain, but I've lived in Australia for 50 years. I live in the Blue Mountains west of Sydney with my Australian husband, Walter. I hope you enjoy reading Perfectly Imperfect, How to be Imperfect and Remain Lovable.
Okay, I think we've got Connie back on now. Sorry about that, Connie.
How's it now? That's okay. How's it now?
It's not great, but we're gonna continue on because, as you say, we don't have to be perfect to be lovable. Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Just let me try one other thing.
Okay.
I'll just try the headset. Yeah. Hang on.
Okay.
How is it now?
That's some better. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's some better.
Okay.
As we get into this, we're going to be talking about what publishers want and what authors need. Now, my guess is that, my hope is that we have millions of listeners, but my guess is most of the listeners are going to be more interested in authors than they are in publishers, okay? Does that make sense to you? So what we're going to do is we're going to start with what authors need. As we were doing a little show prep for this show, you mentioned some of the problems you had with making submissions. Do you want to talk about that for a minute or two?
Sure. I think one of the biggest problems for an author is how to approach a publisher. So if there's a good ease of submitting, it makes an author's life so much better. And then, of course, it depends on what the guidelines are, because a lot of publishers want you to jump through hoops to even submit your manuscript. And on the other hand, a lot of publishers don't accept unsolicited manuscripts, so it makes it really difficult. And a lot of authors like me don't have a literary agent or a publicist, so we're kind of like out on our own. So it's very refreshing if you have a publisher that really is easy to submit to. And of course, Deep Read Press is one of those, which it makes it much, much easier from my point of view. And
Go ahead.
Sorry, as an author, I was looking for someone that actually believed in my work as well and didn't want to change it, because I have author friends who have had to change their manuscripts and change the title of their work, and that's really difficult.
Well, let me tell you where I come from in this. I come from the other side. I came from being an author and working the way through it with publishers, and then being an independent author for a while before I started this company.
Yeah.
And what I always hated was they decided that their vision was the one we were going to go with and not my vision. Right? I had an idea of what I wanted to be like, and they said, no, we want it to be like this. I'll give you an example. I wrote a book about a political movement. And within this political movement, there were a lot of men involved and a lot of women involved, and they had a pretty much an equal stake. You couldn't say, well, this was men-oriented or it's women-oriented. Well, the publisher said, you know what would be good? If you would build up the fact with the females and so that we could sell it as a feminist book. And I said, well, I got nothing against feminism, but I don't trend that way. We gotta either be honest with what we're writing or write novels. And that was the kind of thing that always bothered me. So what we decided we would do, we would say, this is your vision, and this is the vision we're going with. If we think that this book is something we ought to publish, we're going to publish it, but we're going to publish it your way. That's the reason our our editors make suggestions. The editor would never tell an author, hey, you've got to do it this way. We make suggestions. And I think most of the time our editors are right, but if the author doesn't agree with us, it's the author's book, not ours. We never own the book, you do. And that's what we try to do. I compare a lot of times. I compare it to a publishers want meat on the hook. They'll take it and they'll run it through their slaughterhouse and they'll chop it up and they'll run it through their grinder and then they'll come up with something that is processed, which isn't what the author wanted. It hurts the book. It's not what the reader wants, and I think ultimately it's not what the publisher wants. And we try to avoid that, and I hope we succeed a lot of the time. Okay.
Well, from my point of view, you certainly have.
We try, and I appreciate it. I don't think I mentioned that we have published 3 of Connie's books. We ran the little thing about her being perfect, but she's also done 2 volumes of poetry for us. You can also find them on our website or on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. Make sure though that if you live outside the United States, you use the correct. If you're doing Amazon, you use the correct country site for Amazon. Because if you're in Australia, say you can't order through Amazon.com, you got to do the other. Okay. We're right now, Connie. If you'll wait just a minute, I'm going to do some things about some of our other books, and then we'll get right back with you. Okay?
Sure.
But don't drop off the line. Okay? Right now, Jeffrey Perrin is going to read a sampling from his book, Death is Overrated. Jeffrey, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Death is Overrated by Jeffrey Perrin. Chapter 1. Thomas didn't plan to end up dead on his vacation. To the contrary, he kept insisting the man lying lifeless on the ground was not Thomas Paine. Couldn't be, since he was. It was just bad luck that the Brecon detective on the scene was as dense as a Welsh peat bog. Detective Inspector Bedward knelt on the moss outside Danir Ogoff Cave and leaned over the dead body. He rifled through its backpack, barely still attached, and culled a passport from an inside sleeve. After inspecting the document, then the body again, he declared that the stiff was indeed Thomas Paine, like it or not. The animated Dr. Paine didn't like it at all. He argued at length, but nothing moved the copper. He gave his home address in the United States. He described his Cardiff laboratory an hour south of Brecon. He even leaned over and held out his thumbs for comparison to the passport print. Bedward eyed the thumbs suspiciously. then transferred his gaze to the eyes of the man holding them out. U.S. passports have no thumbprints, sir. Thomas, his gut clenched from a suspicion-inducing error, said nothing. The inspector closed one eye and clamped his mouth, his lips forming two lines devoid of nuance, like his thinking. After all, why should he doubt? He had Thomas Paine's passport in hand, taken right off the body, and the victim's face, the half still intact after an apparent fall from the cliff above, matched the photo pretty well. He'd even bet his partner that the lab would say the thumbprints matched. He laid the passport on the body and leaned over. "Do you mind?" he asked, snatching one of Thomas's still proffered thumbs. He pressed this digit to his ancient field-issue ink pad, then pushed it onto a small white card. "It pays to be sure," he always said. He didn't offer an alcohol wipe as he closed the pad and put it back in his pocket, along with the card. He ignored his partner's sneer as the junior inspector wagged the biometric tablet like a fan. "Never trust 'em," Edward growled. Thomas looked aghast at his purple thumb, then back down at the detective, as if the man had stolen his soul, branded like a criminal, like his father. He tensed to keep from shaking, but it only made his tremors worse. The detective inspector made another close examination of the Boschman. He was careful, a sort who rarely made mistakes, or so he'd swear. By contrast, Detective Sergeant Beeman, now taking down accounts from the milling spelunkers nearby, swore often, in both senses. Profanity passed his lips as often as Welsh whiskey. He'd swear in court, too, if necessary, to anything. Anything for the pleasure of seeing men he despised put away, and he loathed this lot on sight. Jammy University gits. Privileged pansies in his view.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Connie, the next thing that I want to talk about for a couple minutes that authors really need is for publishers to be honest with them.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Absolutely, yeah. And it's hard for a first-time author to know who to trust and who's legitimate.
I had much rather, as an author, for a publisher to tell me that my book was not going to sell and that I could maybe go a different route or something, than to try to butter me up and tell me how great it was going to be and then disappoint me down the road. Because that happened to me too. And I said, if you want to be nice to me, tell me the truth. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you're not being nice to me by lying to me. That's not always a malicious thing. Of course, there are publishers who are malicious. They will. Usually, these are like vanity presses that will tell you anything to get you to write them a check.
Yes.
But that is not. That is. I'm sorry.
There's so many of them around too.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in just we're going to get into that in just a second.
Yeah.
But when it comes to honesty, I find that if I just say, okay, Connie, and I told you we did 3 or 4 books, you can give us the titles to them in a second. But there was another book that she proposed that we didn't use. And instead of getting all upset and all how we were mistreating her or something, she accepted it. I hope she does the book with another publisher. I don't think it was a bad book. It's just something that we couldn't do. Okay. Yeah. Tell us the 3 books you have with us.
Yes. The 2 poetry books and the Perfectly Imperfect. I hadn't written poetry for a very long time, actually, and when I found out that you were actually publishing poetry, I thought, wow, I just love writing poetry. It's so easy to do, and I actually find that I can express myself so much easier in the written world than I can verbally half the time. So I was absolutely amazed and thought it was wonderful that I was able to submit my poetry and have it shared with the world. So the first book is about my life, Perfectly Imperfect, and it's a pretty honest book, and that's why I wrote it, because a lot of people that have been through situations like mine feel a lot of guilt and have been through a lot of trauma. And it was actually wonderful to put in everything I wanted, and you didn't omit anything, which was, you didn't tell me I couldn't put this in or I couldn't put that in. So it was absolutely wonderful to be able to tell my story in an honest and full way and have it put out there. So I have found publishing with you an amazing journey. And you don't feel with the work, which is every author's dream. We don't want our work changed because it comes from a place within us that's very deep. And to be told that you have to eliminate really important parts of your work or have to change it or even change the title, it changes the whole perspective about what we're trying to write.
Yeah, I agree. When it comes to poetry, we're not dishonest. We tell the truth. We love poetry, and we will publish it, and it's a genre that should be promoted. The truth is poetry is not very commercial. Okay, so but still we're willing to take a little bit of a financial hit to make sure we keep it out there because it's a genre that should be cherished, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's
why,
and again about changing stuff. Again about changing things. We want to be author driven. We want the author's vision to be what we have. If we don't publish the author's vision, then we might as well not publish this book at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a publisher, that's very unusual because a lot of publishers want to, they really just want the commercial value out of it, then bottom line is you're going to sell.
Yeah, and yes, it's a business, but I got into this business with the investment. I'll tell you the story about how I got into it. Okay, I retired from my day job, right? And I write every day, but there was still room there, and I'd always thought it'd be good to publish other people's work. So I did the research. I took a legal pad, wrote everything down, did the research, and then I told my wife, I said, Kim, this is how much that I think I can invest, and we'd be okay with it with the publishing. And she says to me, "You don't ever spend any money. Go for it." Pretty much. So we did, and I was told that in a year we would be bankrupt. Well, I knew I wouldn't be bankrupt. The company might be out of money, but I wouldn't be bankrupt. And 3 years down the road, and we're doing quite well. And so we have enough resources that we can take on books that may not be profitable sometimes, and that's where we are with that.
And that's wonderful. You're actually expanding as well, aren't you?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite get that.
So you're actually expanding as well into audio books and
we are currently we do 5 formats currently. We do paperbacks, we do hardbacks with your case laminate, we do hardbacks with traditional dust covers, we do ebooks, and we do audio books. Now, not all of our books are done in all 5 formats, and one of the reasons is, for instance, poetry. We don't put poetry in audio books because it is difficult to get the right input. Even the best voiceover people, best trained and all that, sometimes have trouble reading poetry the way it's intended to be read. That's the reason some actors avoid Shakespeare, because it's extremely difficult to hit the marks the way they should be hit. It's very difficult
Sure.
to do. So we don't do poetry that way. What works best is nonfiction, but we will do some novels that way too, through audio books.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Let's go to the next thing that authors need, and that is what they don't need. They don't need to be fleeced. I said about Deep Read Press, we make our money by selling books, not by fleecing authors. Now there are publishers out there. Publishers fall into three main categories. You've got traditional publishers like us that we take on all the expense and we pay our authors royalties. Then you've got vanity presses, which the author pays for everything and gets what he gets. And the third one is hybrid publishers, which claim to take on part of the expense and have the author take on the other part. Now, when it comes to hybrid publishers, I have friends in that business. What worries me about that is that if I were doing a hybrid publishing thing, I would make sure that they told me exactly what they were spending, because if they said that I would spend 40 and they spend 60, I'd want to see what they're spending their 60. Vanity presses I would avoid completely, because they make their money from the author. So they've got no incentive to actually help you sell the book, right? They okay, I've got my several $1,000s from the author. If I do nothing, I've still got, I still make the profit, and the author is just left out there. There are plenty of traditional publishers. Deep Read Press is one of them, but there are plenty of other ones. Before I did either the hybrid or the vanity press, I would try my best to find a traditional publisher that would have enough faith in my book to publish it.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
Well, I totally agree. I mean, I personally, and have been for quite some time, hounded by managed process trying to get my business. And they send emails, they ring up, and I don't answer the phone, but in emails they promise you all these kinds of things, and it sounds really wonderful. And for unsuspecting, especially for first-time authors, it's so easy to get sucked into believing that they're going to do a great job. So, Theo, what would be your advice to authors about how to, A, recognize vanity press, and how best to deal with them if they keep hounding you? Okay.
Well, we're going to do a show about that kind of thing later on, but right now I can tell you this. The very best thing to do is ask questions and vet them. If they want you to do something, say, okay, I want to show this to someone else to see what they think about it. And if they say no, then run for your life. Also, look for hidden fees. Okay, it's this much, but then we charge for this, and we charge for this, and we charge for this, and don't do it. Okay. One of the things that we got now is that part of the trickery is I saw a thing. It was called. I'm not going to tell you what the name of the company, because I'm not going to promote them because they're thieves. But they use the word Amazon in their company name. And if you just read it, you would think it was Amazon. Okay, Amazon's they're a big company. I mean, if they publish, it's okay. Yeah. And they've got nothing to do with it. Vet them. And I say that about Deep Read Press. If you're thinking about trying to send us a manuscript, vet us. Find out about us. Read all you can read. Ask us questions. Now, truthfully, sometimes people say malicious things, and we've had malicious things said about us. But if you talk to us, I believe we can make you understand who we are and what we do. Another thing is, publishers will not generally publish a work sight unseen. Okay, so if they say Send us your manuscript, and in 30 days it'll be published. I'd be very cautious about those people. Deep Read Press is not a book deal. We, by my calculations, we publish about 3% of the manuscripts we receive. The other 97%, some of them are really good, but they're not for us. So they're not. So now, if we publish them all, we could probably make more money, but we're looking for quality, and we're looking for things that we can be proud of and believe in.
Yes.
Okay. When you, and as far as, well, let me finish the answer. As far as them hounding you, on my personal email, I send a lot of stuff. I block as much of that garbage as I can block, and I send it to trash and all that.
Yeah.
And I don't bother to look at it or even open it, because I got one today saying, hey, we saw your website, and for a fee we can make it better. And I said, well, that's great. I can do my best to make it better, for free. So that's what I'll do. So, but that's the thing about before you sign a contract, get to know the publisher, and if they won't give you the information that you need, well, for what? I remember when you first we were first talking about it, you had several questions, and I tried my best to answer them all as completely as I could. That's what one should do. That is what we should try to do, because I don't want you to be unhappy. I've also and this is what I tell all the authors. It's not in the contract, but if you don't like what's going on, tell us. We'll take the book out of print. We'll pay you what we owe you, and we will part friends, because we don't want you to be involved in a situation that you don't like. You're bad.
Yeah.
And
that's
one thing we would ask you, though, is go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really impressed me, because it's such an honest thing to do, and I don't think any other publisher would offer that at all, because once they've got you under contract, really they just want to sell your book, and you have to do all sorts of things, and you're kind of locked into the contract. And I've never come across it before, not that I've got a lot of experience with publishers, but you communicate all the time, and even to me, you've said several times by email, if you're not happy, we're quite happy to let you out of the contract. I mean, that's just unheard of. It's just amazing.
Well, because, okay, let's say that Connie Howe is unhappy, okay? And somebody says, who is your publisher? And you say Deep Read Press, but don't use them because they're scumbags. But that's not going to help us any, is it? But if you say, well, I wasn't happy with them and they let me out of the contract, and at least they were fair with me, then that may help us a little. So we want to do what's right for you, but we want to do what's best for us too. And being honest, and it's the best way to do it. Okay. Another thing that authors want is they want their book covers to look good, and we're very proud of the book covers that we produce. Now that Kim has taken over, when I did them before I started the company, mine weren't great, but Kim's book covers are very, very good, and authors want a good looking book cover. Readers do too. If the cover is a turnoff to them, then they're not likely to be interested in the book. So you want eye pop, you want those kind of things. So we work very hard to produce good covers, and we talk back and forth to the author about it. It's like the first cover for your book, we gave you several different options, and eventually we came to a meeting of minds and got the cover that everybody was happy with. And that's the way I think it should be done. That's not the case. And the first book I had published through a major publisher, I didn't even see the book cover until it was on the market. And then there was no option to change it because the book's already out there.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that's don't believe that's the way you should do business.
It's very disappointing. Sorry.
It wasn't.
It's very disappointing to an author when they've got an idea of what they want their book to look like for it to have a completely different kind of cover.
Yeah, and now the point of a cover is to get people to look at it, so it doesn't have to be the cover doesn't have to tell the story, but it shouldn't be so out there that there's no connection. You know, if you wrote a story about being perfect and imperfect, and you know we put a girl in her bikini on the beach on the cover, then that's probably not going to work out. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
but because that would detract totally from the meaning of the book. I mean, perfectly imperfect, those words can mean all kinds of different things, and there are many books out there called Perfectly Imperfect. So, yes, it's very important to have a cover that actually relates to the story, so that when the person picks up the cover, they've got an idea of what they might find inside.
Yeah, you want eye pop, you want it to be appealing, and you want it to be relatable. You know, that's how covers work, and Kim is really good at it.
Yes.
So,
and flexible.
Well, it's a team effort. Everybody working together. Everybody wanting the same thing.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Which again is unusual.
Well, yeah. Unfortunately, a lot of times publishers see authors the way that, I don't know, sports franchise owners see the players. It's almost confrontation. It's almost like, you know, we're gonna do you a favor and we're gonna do this. Just sit back and be quiet with it. And that's not the way people ought to behave.
No.
Okay. We touched on this one topic a little bit. We'll look at it again. It's openness from the publisher. If we try very hard to be transparent, we want you to know where we are all the time. Sometimes I feel like that I communicate too much, but I'd rather communicate too much as to not communicate at all, because I went more than a year without hearing from my publisher, even though I tried to contact him several times. More than a year.
Wow.
Because we didn't have anything to, except when he'd send me stuff trying to get me to buy books for some kind of book fair or someplace. Something like that. Spend some money. And for more than that went on for more than a year.
Wow.
Okay. We are a little bit past where we wanted to be. I'm going to do have a couple more people talk about their books, and then we'll pick up this discussion. The first one is Derek McClard is going to talk about the book Not What It Seems in Other Stories.
My name is Derek McClard. I'm a 7th grade English teacher at Macon County Junior High School. Last year I had a class of 18 honors students, 7th and 8th graders, who wrote and published a book. We began before Christmas brainstorming ideas, and then after writing first drafts and sharing our first drafts with students shared with each other and with me and our publisher, after several one-on-one sessions and revisions. We published the book through Deep Read Press, and it proved to be a wonderful learning experience for the students. They did a lot of hard work. They learned a lot about collaborating with each other and revising their work, and all in all, it was a great experience for everyone involved. There are 15 short stories in the collection written by 18 writers. 2 additional students contributed artwork for the front cover of the book. The stories deal with a variety of subjects, everything from murder mysteries to the backstory for the Bigfoot myth to a day in the life of a student with cerebral palsy, even a World War II story concerning the experiences of the sailors aboard the USS Indianapolis.
Now we'll hear from Sheena Newberry Wilder.
Hello, my name is Sheena Newberry Wilder, and I have authored a book about my great-uncle, William James Donahoe. He was better known as Bill Donahoe. The name of my book is Wild Bill Donahoe, From Corrupt Cop to Raceway Mogul. Bill Donahoe's life started out in poverty. His family was very poor. My great-grandparents were struggling, but that was the era. That was the time period. This was in the late 30s. And he had to work the fields alongside my grandmother, his sister. He decided, as he was struggling with his family, that he didn't want to be hungry anymore. So when he became old enough of age, he moved to Nashville. He became a barber. Becoming a barber was the opportunity that helped him to make a life, to get him out of poverty. He met people there. They talked, shared dreams and expressions and ideas and exchanged things. I called this networking. He networked with people that could help him. And one gentleman who did help him helped him get hired on at the Davidson County Police Department. My uncle was a man of service. He wanted to serve people. He found great satisfaction in that. And he worked with the department for a couple of years. This was in the 40s, and he then was drafted into World War II. He went to basic training. He was so good at shooting, at his shooting skills with the automatic rifles, that they had him, over the next couple of years, be the instructor of the shooting school. He was so profound and so good at what he did. He took everything he did very serious, and he gave all or he gave nothing. And what he gave all to was being the best at everything. After the war, he moved back to Nashville and went back to the police department. Over the next few years, he moved up the ranks to the assistant chief of police of Davidson County. Ultimately, he retired from the Davidson County Police Department, and the federal government came after him and ultimately convicted him of tax evasion and racketeering. He fought so hard. He said that he'd never done anything but try to help the community. These were documented in the court records. He said he was not guilty, not guilty, not guilty. They had 2 trials. Then they went to U.S. District Court, which the verdict was upheld. Then it went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court refused to hear the case. So finally, in the early 60s, he was ordered to go to prison. And so he did. He spent 4 months in prison. He comes out of the prison as a convict, as a federal convict, or felon. And he begins to promote racing in Nashville, in Middle Tennessee, in Bristol, in Daytona, in all these other areas. He'd always loved stock car racing and racing in general. So that was, again, a new niche for him, and it was perfect. He brought NASCAR to Nashville, Tennessee. He worked hard to bring all of the tourism and the tax profits and things like that benefited the entire county of Davidson and then the entire state. He was a man of service. That's what he wanted to do. And that was his life goal. Ultimately, after the racing, he became ill, and in 1993, he did pass away. His son took over and helped promote racing and other business interests until his death in 2003 from cancer. The thing I want you to know about my Uncle Bill is he was a go-getter. He had endurance. He pushed himself, and he pushed everybody that was around him, all of his family. Everyone had to work to be the best. He never gave up. He never gave in, and he never gave up. It didn't matter the failures. It didn't matter the times that he was told no. He pushed forward, and he made a great life for himself and for his family, and he was such an amazing influence to the people of Nashville and the state of Tennessee.
Are you like me and you like great books? Well, I found a place that has a lot of great books. A traditional publisher right up in Macon County, Deep Read Press. DeepReadPress.com, that's the website to find out exactly what they have. And again, they got traditional books. They are a traditional publisher. Deep Read Press does a lot of things that I particularly like, and most of them has to do with great books. So if you're looking for a publisher to publish, or if you're just looking for a place to find a lot of great books, it's Deep Read Press at DeepReadPress.com.
Well, Connie, it doesn't look like we're going to get to what publishers want. We can try that again next time, because we just don't have enough time left for that. Even our goes back quickly when I get to talk to a very interesting person like yourself. Time goes back quickly. What I'd like to do in these last few minutes is I'd like to ask you, what are you working on now?
Well, actually, I've had a book on the back burner for about 2 years, and it just hasn't been coming. And then all of a sudden, I started to actually write. So the title of it is Stepping Out of the Madness. So it's another non-fiction, but that's what I write. A little bit more esoterical than Perfectly Imperfect, but very dear to my heart. It's a lot about what I've experienced in life, not so much from about me, but talking about the experiences that not just that I've had, but other people can have too, about higher consciousness. I'm very much a writer of spiritual things and the deeper meaning of life. So, yes, expect another submission coming in the future.
Okay, we will wait with bated breath. While it's on my mind, I want to relate to this. I don't know how much the listeners can understand me versus you. Here I'm a guy in rural Middle Tennessee, here in Macon County, speaking with my southern accent, and you're speaking with your British/Australian accent. That might set people aback. I remember what Winston Churchill said about Americans and British. Said we are two nations separated by a common language, and it showed up tonight. As far as submissions, we are always open to submissions, and we answer them as quickly as we can. We've got three right now. We've got three different imprints. We've got Deep Read Press, which is our general imprint, and you can go to our website www.deepreadpress.com, and you can see all our guidelines and all that. And we've got two others. We've got Devil's Breath Press, which is more of a horror or close to horror. We've got our first title from Devil's Breath Press will be coming out here in a very short period of time. And then we've got Strawgrass Press, which will be short stories and poetry. We've got a couple titles in that one too. So you can find all those on our website. I don't want to do too many commercials for our company, although as you can tell, I love talking about it. I love everything about this business, even when it's irritating. Are you writing more poetry?
Yes, I have started. I think I've got about 20, but I'm going for a bigger book this time, so I'm aiming to get about 70 or 80 poems this time. Okay. But yes, okay. I have started one.
Okay. Well, I mean, as you know, we never guarantee that we'll publish stuff, but
sure.
We will look at anything you can send us, and when I say stuff, I mean it in the best possible sense of the word. It is fairly close to time. You know, this hour has just flown by. It's warts and all. I think it's came out pretty well.
Yeah.
It's about time to wrap it up. You got any last words? Any brilliancies you want to share with us before you go?
Well, it's wonderful to be able to talk to you. I mean, the modern technology is amazing, isn't it? And to actually talk to my publisher is, I'm very honored. I'm very honored to be co-hosting the show, and hopefully we'll get better at it as the communication is clearer. And I'm sure we will have a lot of interesting things to say. I'm very, very pleased to be part of it. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we will talk to you next week and every week for the foreseeable future, okay? With that, yeah. I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to wrap up. I really do appreciate you doing this, Connie. I really do.
My pleasure. Talk to you later.
Have a great day and keep smiling.
Thank you, and have a great evening. Bye now.
We are about ready to wrap up our initial episode, and yeah, we had some technicals, but you're always going to have some technicals with these shows, especially early on. I appreciate your listening. I will tell you that Deep Read Press sponsors this show, and you can find out all there is to know about Deep Read Press at www.deepreadpress.com. You can call us at our number during business hours. It's 615-670-1725 during business hours, and you can talk to a real live person. If we can't get back to you right away, we will be within one business day. You can email us at deepreadpress@gmail.com, at deepreaderpress@gmail.com, and at strawgrasspress@strawgrass.com. We do a quarterly newsletter called the Deep Reader Press Club newsletter. You can subscribe to it. It's absolutely free. Just go to our website and subscribe to it, and it will be in your email box. We will, in about a week, we will be sending up the next issue. We are just so happy that you listened tonight, and we'll be better next time, okay? As I let you go, remember, be kind to each other and keep smiling. Always keep smiling. Bye now.
Rock your monthly payment, as much for car, when you choose your own payment, at Echo Park Automotive.
Franktown.com with a track called Echo Park. Every car, happy owner.
It's that time of year for holiday love and good cheer, driving through magic places and shining lights on all the children's faces. Visit the Franktown Festival of Lights in Franklin at the Williamson County Ag Expo Center. Open nightly 5 to 9 p.m. through December 31st. You'll enjoy the Christmas music on your car radio, selfies by the huge Christmas tree, and s'mores by the fire pit. Come for Walk-In Wednesdays and enjoy our special character nights. Visit franktownlights.com for tickets.